What I'm saying is both in terms of like rendering. If you're rendering grass, right, you usually render plates of grass that are 2D, that are facing like billboard.
Well, no, not now, because we started doing that. But then as we merged onto Unreal Engine 5, and then as I learned a lot about how Nanite works and how it works with that, we started using like a Megascans grass that has each blade is its own mesh, I would say. Well, no, the bundles of grass is one mesh, but each blade is not masked. We don't use masked grass because that's more expensive than having a opaque grass that has a bit more vertices, because Nanite is that powerful when it comes to handling the vertex number, the vertex amount, rather than handling masked materials because of the overdraw problem. Currently Nanite is most struggling with overdraw. The overdraw is the biggest cost component on Nanite. So we generally, for grass and flowers, we generally use either extremely well fitted masked meshes for flowers or opaque meshes for grass. And for trees, we use masked planes for branches and for leaves.
Uh, I think you need to tell me a little bit more about how Nanite works because I only know like a couple of things from the internet that there's like you can have millions of triangles and that's it. Like,
Yeah. Well, you can have millions of triangles, but there's a lot of buts. So Nanite itself, as you can see on any Unreal marketing video or on their documentation or on their blog posts, it's a virtualized geometry. If someone is familiar with virtual textures, I would let me just quickly say like how virtual textures work in a higher level domain. What you see in a scene, what your camera sees, is what gets loaded onto the GPU memory. So let's say you see let's say, let me just, you see, this is like a texture, a 4K texture, let's say. It will get sliced into however many page tiles of 128 by 128 pixels. And now that's how your texture gets deconstructed. So if you see like a half of that texture on the screen, only half of those tiles, half of those texels, well, pixels, I would say. Texel is just a complication of it. How many of those pixels on the texture you see is how much memory you will need. Whether if it's a regular texture, you will see the whole. The whole texture will get loaded into the memory. So you basically, with virtual textures, you halved that texture cost, the memory cost, in that sense. Same goes for virtual. Roughly the same goes for Nanite. So it's a virtualized geometry. And it gets bundled into clusters of 128 vertices, and all those clusters can be loaded into memory. If you see those clusters, they will be loaded into memory. If you don't see them, with a lot of asterisks, if you don't see them, it will not. It will get culled and it will not be into memory. So you can have a per vertex culling. So it's per cluster culling. If you see a statue, the behind of that statue won't get loaded. You will not. It will be culled first of all, and it will not be in memory. So that's how Nanite works. Additionally, it works. Additionally, it is a per pixel LODing, level of detail. So a level of detail is the further you go from the mesh, the less resolution it will have. So this is automatic in Nanite, which is also great. That's how you can have a mesh of 4 million vertices, but in uh, in scene, if it's really far away, you will see however many pixels that mesh resides in.
and Nanite does this like during the rendering
Yep.
pipeline step, right? So it
So the clustering gets in on import, and the calling the loading is real time.
Okay. Okay. That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're saying that you can render grass, for example, now more efficiently because
Yeah.
you can leverage this because you won't actually render all the triangles that you don't see anyway, which would be, which is more effective than just doing like 2D textures that you would print, like render anyway, but then
Yeah.
upload them with the other thing that is in front of them.
Yeah, yeah. If you're using nanite, mass materials is something that you would shy away from. So the plain grass is something not to. It would be uh, even if it had like a 10% of the vertices, it would be more costly in performance. If you're doing a non-nanite workflow, then you would use all the old pipelines and the workflows you used before. So it's a whole new paradigm of work, how you do it.
And if we're talking about foliage, all the rocks and other things apart from grass, is this like then rendered in the same manner?
Yeah, so in Talos 2, 98% of meshes is nanite. And in our other projects, I think 100% that can be nanite will be nanite meshes. So for let's say like water and all like glass, so it's a translucent mesh, those can't be nanite yet. So everything that can be nanite, I always say, and in the documentation that I wrote for our team, I said everything that can be nanite should be nanite. So that's basically it.